Greetings metal community, it's Roger back with another video. A couple of videos ago I made a video about some Finnish death metal. I moved on to Germany now. This is not unknown bands, and one of this band I was just gonna talk about the two first albums, but you know, in the background we are playing Fleshcrawl. And this is, you know, Sven Gross passed away from cancer recently, and you know, I wanted to include a couple of albums with him on vocals as well, in honor of him. And you know, my thoughts go out to his family and band members, friends, and yeah, everybody that are touched by cancer in one way or another. You know, stay strong. This is the album As Blood Rains from the Sky, We Walk the Path of Endless Fire. This came out in 2000. I think this is the second album that Sven was vocalist on, and my favorite with him on vocals. It's kind of a brutal, might be the most brutal album they made, like when it comes to tempo and aggression. I think a killer album. And you know, the first album he was vocalist on was Blood Red Massacre from '97, which is also a killer album. This album is kind of the first when they gravitate towards the Swedish sound. And you know, I think the first song here is very influenced by you know, Penetralia album by Hypocrisy. You know, Peter Takren is the producer of this album, and there's also a song that's very At the Gates touch to it. But you know, further out in the album, they kind of go back more towards the style that they had on the previous albums. But it was a sign what Fleshcrawl was looking for, more of a Swedish sounding and more like the HM2 guitar sound. Then I can show the first album, which is my favorite Fleshcrawl album. This is Descend into the Absurd. This is a killer death metal album. You have these slow doomy parts and intro parts, and then just hammering on. Fantastic album. Yeah, I love this. This is actually my this is an original press. It's pretty mint condition. I don't know why that's possible with an old CD like this, but yeah, I try to keep my CDs well in place in my shelves. So yeah, an excellent album, and I'm sure most have heard this one because it's been shown in a lot of channels that I have been watching have shown this. The second album by Fleshcrawl was Impurity. Not so many doomy parts on this one, but still a excellent album. Sadly, the logo and the cover is not very interesting, but yeah, a great release as well. And they released, I think, one more album with Alex Pretzer on vocals, and then Sven took over. And you know, great vocalists, both of them. And you know, Sven, rest in peace. I could have shown more Fleshcrawl, but I was thinking like just showing 2 or 3 albums by each band, not to, you know, take too much of your time. Another excellent death metal band from Germany is Obscure Infinity. This is the Putrefying Illusions that came out somewhere in time. think it's 12. This is just excellent German death metal. One of my absolute favorite death metal bands from Germany. They have released 4 or 5 full-length albums, and they're all killer stuff. And you have the perpetual descending into nothingness. This is the 2014. I can take them out so the glare. You know, it's Dan Seagrave kind of inspired cover art, but cover art is by Juanjo Castellano. But it looks very much like Dan Seagrave, and we love Dan Seagrave on death metal, so it has the right fit of it, and an excellent album. Then in 2017 they released the Dawn of Winter album. Looks like this. Yeah, lyrics. Band members, and yeah, it's just solid, slightly brutal death metal. Not like brutal, but killer stuff. And I don't know, I can't compare them to anyone really, because they have this German sound, but yeah, it's I don't. There's not a band that pops up in my head that they are kind of influenced by, but yeah. They also released a compilation back in, yeah, this came out in 18, called Evocation of Chaos. It looks like this. Yeah, solid. I think this is kind of demo or EP stuff. Yeah, demo stuff on EP. Have pictures of all the releases that are on here. And then they also released the album in, was it last year? That was absolute killer as well. I have that on vinyl, but my vinyl collection is in 3 different places, so I couldn't find it. Then the last one I want to talk about is a well-known German band, death metal band. They started out as death metal, of course. Atrocity. This is Hallucinations reissue with the Hunt EP attached to it, 2-disc version. Yeah, this is just again, German death metal at its finest. Great album, but for me it was, yeah, it was good, but it was not like, I didn't really got into the band before the second album. That's Todesnesucht. This came out in 92, I believe. This is the original CD, and you can see that it's pretty worn out. I've listened to it a ton of times, and this is, back in 92, this was one of the most played albums of mine, and still I play this several times every year. This is just absolute killer death metal, slightly technical, and they also have a very special sound on it. And Alex Krull, the vocalist, is producing this stuff, I reckon, and he's a very, has a distinguished sound on it, and great vocals, a lot of technicality, and the tempo changes, and it's a very interesting death metal album in my eyes. And even the cover songs, or the cover song they have, Archangel, by Death is done beautifully, and they have put that at last. Last song is the cover, and that's the way to do it if you have to have a cover song on it. Yeah, but totally, this is, yeah, just Godless Year, you know, Sky Turn Red, Defiance. I mean, this is just so kind of intricate, slightly technical, and you know, it's very challenging to listen to because there's always something new happening, and they really stepped up, I think, with this album. Then in 2004 they gave out the album. In between that they did some, yeah, weird stuff, you know. Willenscraft and Blut was okay. They had moments on there, and then they had this covering the you know, pop songs. Need to take a sip of beer. And then in 2004 they released Atlantis, which I was meant to show here, but I couldn't find my copy. Which is a very bombastic and kind of symphonic death metal album. I really liked it when it came out. Looking back at it, it's kind of overproduced, and but it's still a great album in my opinion. But it's kind of a, if you like the bombastic, you know, kind of orchestrated death metal, you should check out Atlantis. And then it was kind of silent, or they did some other stuff. But then in 2013 the Occult album came out. This is kind of when they come back to death metal. And this album has some really killer tracks. Overall it's a very uneven album. But the good stuff here is really good, and my favorite song here, called Necromancy Divine, is just a absolute killer song. And yeah, you can check it out. You know, it's not like totally a great album, but maybe I will link up the Necromancy Divine song so you can check it out. But this is the best stuff they have done since, you know, Atlantis in 2004 and 12 years before that with the Todesmusucht. And then this was in 2018, they came out with the Occult 2. This is more of a even good album, but it lacks killer songs. But it's a solid album, but kind of feel they try too hard to be a kind of a brutal death metal band. But yeah, so if you want to start out with Atrocity, and you haven't heard anything, just start with Hallucination and go on to Todesmusucht, or Longing for Death is the English, or the US version is called Longing for Death, I do believe. Yeah, so that was the German bands that I wanted to show this time. Next video will be of I will go to England. And I'm not trying to copy Liam, who was having a my video ID was made long before he has started his death metal, England death metal series. So hopefully I'm not destroying anything that he has done, but I will record that right after this. So be sure.